and welcome back to another great episode of hashtag Screw the W2. I've lost count of how many episodes we're on. I think we're on episode 50 something. I should have checked before I hit record, but in any case, this week's guest I have on a fellow realtor, actually, Jennifer over in Ohio. Jennifer, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, John. Nice to see you again. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you as well. So now maybe I always start off with my guest. If you can take us back in time, for instance, before you became self-employed, what was your previous W-2 job? What was an average day like, or what'd you do?
So, right before was in real estate, I actually worked for Career Builder. I
Oh,
used to, so we had a base salary and then it had commission. And we used to do cold calling, selling job postings, and my
yeah.
territory was the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where they
Oh,
didn't have internet, and I was selling internet job postings.
that sounds about as, lucrative as selling surfboards here in Marshall, Minnesota, when there's 5 feet of snow outside.
Right, exactly. I mean, I did sell a good amount considering because it was for a lot of CNC machinists and
Okay.
people like that were hiring for that position, like kind of figured that, people were online looking for jobs. This was like what year was this? Oh my gosh. It was 2000 or something like that.
Okay.
So it was kind of like the beginning of all the internet stuff.
Okay. Sounds good. And then doing that, yeah, obviously, and I know some listeners, not to age myself, but I know some of my listeners haven't weren't even born in 2000. But
Oh, wow.
back then, pre-internet, internet just getting off the ground, and obviously you
Right.
working with Career Builder, what was like, the pivotal moment or maybe a series of moments of, yep, this isn't working. I got to get out of here. I need to do something different.
Well, I think for me, I was lucky in that I came from a pretty entrepreneurial family. So
Okay.
I always had this in me of like, I knew I wanted to start my own business, but I actually always loved real estate. I just thought you had
Okay.
to be kind of old to be in real estate because I think back
Oh.
then, like the average age was like, to me, it was old. It was like mid 50s with
Yeah,
like
let's
a big
quantify old
hair.
and careful how we do it.
Not anymore. Yeah. Like big hair, lots of makeup, lots of jewelry. And I was like, that's just not me. Like, whatever. But it was hard for me to be an employee because I just don't like being told what to do. And
Yeah.
if there's a better way, I don't see why we can't just like do it the more efficient, better
Hmm.
way. And so it was always getting pushed back and it was frustrating, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I always think back to the meme years ago. My previous W-2 job, I had a coworker. I should find a picture of her. Maybe I'll just text her. But it was had Lego figures, and one Lego figure has a round wheel holding up with a caption, "Here, let me help you." And the other Lego figures are pushing this can't remember if it was a cart or whatever, but they had
Yeah.
blocks for wheels. They weren't round wheels. And the caption was, "We don't have time. We're too busy." And I think that
Right.
just
And
kind
you're
of
like,
encapsulates, every situation in corporate America. Here's a more
yes,
efficient way to do X. Sorry, we're too
yes.
busy.
Yes. Well, and plus, I mean, yes, that's 100% it. And also it's like even though it's a commission sales job and we had the base salary, there was really no flexibility for creativity inside
Mhm.
of it. I mean, we were responsible for calling our customers, but there were certain scripts and you could modify the scripts a little bit, but it's like wasn't creating the products. I
Sure.
wasn't necessarily able to fully help the client because maybe a different division did this other part that they needed. It's like this is insanity.
Yeah, it just I don't know. We could probably do a whole podcast or YouTube episode on the inefficiencies of corporate America. That
Oh, it's
uh
annoying.
yeah, it might actually be a series. So,
Yeah, right,
but
exactly.
anyways, then Jennifer, obviously, you had these moments. I think a lot of people can relate. The uh, corporate BS, for lack of a better term, lack of
Yeah.
creativity. But once you had that, you're frustrated. You didn't have much
Mhm.
flexibility and control. What were
Right.
your? Did you jump right into real estate then, or what were your next steps to kind of
Well,
exit
so
from
then
Career
my
Builder?
next step was I went and worked for a real estate agent. Well, a
Okay.
couple of them actually. And I was like their assistant and I got licensed and I was their assistant because I didn't know how to be a real estate agent. And so in my head, I was like, oh, well, it makes sense to let me like learn from them. But honestly, what happened is they were inefficient and stupid too, you know? And I was like, this is dumb. Like, what are you doing? You know? And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I had just finished up my MBA. So I knew like how to like I understood the process of running a business, understood the process
Okay.
of running numbers. And I was like, these numbers are not making sense. There's also because there's a boss still, there's still like no flexibility, there's no
Hmm.
creativity. I was like, this is dumb. So at the time I was living in Arizona and I
Oh,
was
okay.
like, you know what? I'm just gonna like move back home to
Okay.
Ohio and just like this actually ended up being 2008-ish
Okay.
because this is when in nine because this is when the short sales were starting to happen,
Right.
short sales foreclosures. And I was like, I'm just gonna do that. Like
Okay.
help people in that are in foreclosure, help them do a short
Mm,
sale and then wholesale that short sale and just make the commission from that.
gotcha. And I'm gonna go off on a little tangent, for my question list, just for my listeners. We're in real estate. We know this, but in layman's terms, what exactly is a short sale? I just kind of want to clarify that for the listeners.
So a short sale is when the homeowner has defaulted on their mortgage. So like they haven't paid their mortgage. And at a
Okay.
certain period of time, the bank will say, hey, you haven't paid your mortgage. We're going to take your house back. And then
Gotcha.
I would come in and say, hey, what if we instead of you foreclosing on it and taking it back and then those homeowners owing a bunch of money, why don't we just negotiate a deal? You'll
Mm,
get paid less than what you're owed, but it'll still be good. And then the homeowner doesn't owe any money. So they
gotcha.
still have to move, but their financial liability it was less and they had a little bit more
Mm,
control in the process. So it was a
okay.
lot better for most people
Gotcha. And I'm guessing the short sale in general looks better on a credit
on
report or
credit.
so than a foreclosure.
Well, yeah,
Lesser
that's
of two
your
evils. So
neck of the woods. Yes.
yeah. And I'm guessing
Usually.
now, and I still see it. I still see it happening. And like you said, bank might have, let's just say, a 70,000 outstanding mortgage. Hey, we're going to negotiate. I'll just throw out 50 grand as the
50, right.
settlement. Probably the most interesting thing, since you mentioned this was 2009, right after the Great Recession. Yeah, there's the short sales. Yes, there's a negotiation, but then there wasn't as much equity too, because well, this is what you get when you
Right.
write 100% loan to value mortgages. But
Right.
when you have a house that's now worth 80 grand, you have a mortgage on it that's 100 grand, and you're trying to
Right.
negotiate to 70 grand, then it really changes the landscape.
Yeah, I mean, it was a total mess. And then what we would do is we would negotiate with that bank, explain to them why it wasn't worth 100 grand. It was only worth the 70 or 50 or whatever. And
Okay.
then we would resell it to an end buyer or an investor that would fix it up or do whatever with it.
Gotcha. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, and a little off topic, off of the question list, but I'm guarantee one listener's like, "What's a short sale?"
What
I've
is
heard
that?
that,
Yeah.
and yeah. So, but anyways, okay. So going back, you were in Arizona, you moved to Ohio. This was around
Mhm.
2009.
Yep.
Or about 14, give or take 14 years ago. Or do you remember when was the last day that? Here's your last pay stub, Jennifer. From this day forward, you're self-employed. Your income stream isn't guaranteed per se.
Yeah. Well, let's see. That would have been so when I moved to Ohio, my friend let me work for her and she was doing medical billing. So
Okay.
from like 7 in the morning to like 1 in the afternoon, I would do medical billing. But
Oh,
then
okay.
they needed to lay people off. So I like walked
Mm.
in the office. I was like, lay me off, lay me off, lay me off. Please, 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 please,
Please
please.
lay me off. Wait, what? What did she say?
And she was like, okay, and you can collect unemployment. So unemployment, I think at the time lasted like about 4 months.
Sure.
Um, and then, but by that time, I was already earning commissions because from about, 1 or 2 in the afternoon until like it felt, I mean, I would fall asleep at my computer most days, like because it's a lot of work to
Wow. Yeah.
paperwork and stuff like that. And I'm making cold calls and I'm, door knocking to get leads for these real
Hmm.
estate short sales. And so I would say that would have probably I don't even know, maybe like June of 2010.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I always like to
Yeah.
ask my guests. I mean, I myself I shared, but way back in episode one, my last W-2 day was supposed to be October 1st, 2019. It ended up being September 3rd, 2019. So I remember those days very vividly.
Yeah.
Others are like, well, I think it was November. What? And I had one the other day. It's like, well, I think it was 2020, maybe it was 2021. I mean, they kind of had this like 18-month span. It was somewhere in here.
Somewhere in there. Well, but you were on our podcast for Real
Hmm.
Estate Fight Club, and I know you're a financial, freedom guy. So
Hmm.
my first day of financial freedom, which I had paid off all my investment properties and like
Okay.
living on that income, was July of 2022.
Oh,
July
nice. Well,
1st.
congrats.
Yes. Thank you.
So, well, yeah, that's definitely an accomplishment. So, with that being said, Jennifer, and while you just kind of shared you were, praying to be laid off and you were falling asleep, uh, with that starting off, is there anything you do miss from the W-2 days or any regrets you have
No.
from? Okay, that
No,
I.
no, because the thing is like, so real estate, the thing that I love and hate about real estate is it's really all on you.
Yep.
So I can earn as much as I want and I can work as much as I don't want, right?
Yep.
But the consistency with which you do the lead generating activity, and this is probably true for all of sales, the
Hmm.
consistency with which you do the lead generating activities is directly equal to the consistency that you get paid. So for
Hmm.
me, I am the person that I cold called every day at the same time every day. Like I had a
Hmm.
routine, nobody interrupted my routine, and I did that routine for 10 plus years. And as a result, I created my own income, and it was way higher than what I was earning before. And I
Yep.
had control over it. So I
Exactly.
think like I have control over the product, I have control over who I work with. I mean, everything, right?
Hmm. Exactly.
So I created my own, like, I mean, we are taxed as an S corp, so I do have to W-2 myself in the
Hmm.
company. So I created my own, you know?
Sure. Yeah, and yeah, we could go down the rabbit hole of tax strategies and S corps and C corps and LLCs and sole proprietorships,
Yeah,
and again another long podcast we could probably get into on that
right.
one. So, with that, Jennifer, obviously you said you mentioned a lot more control, a lot more freedom, not a cap on your income. You can make as much as you want, as long as you put the effort into it. Taking all that in, or is there something you haven't mentioned since the well, maybe I'll ask you 2 days. Going back to 2010 and then your
Mhm.
financial freedom day last year in 2022, what's been the best part of your journey?
Well, definitely the literal financial freedom is the best
Okay.
part because it takes a long time. So
Hmm.
every time I earned money, like I kept my expenses really low. Like I was living
Sure.
in like a $500 a month tiny apartment, like you know what I mean? Like driving a
Yep.
car that was paid for, and I kept my expenses really, really low. And I would buy investment property, or put down payments on investment property or whatever, because I knew if I did that over time, this day would soon arrive, right?
Hmm.
In my head, I was like, oh my God, it's going to take forever. And it did feel like it took forever, but now it
Yeah,
feels like it's all of a sudden.
exactly.
Um, so it's been a lot of work. And of course, there's some fallout there because I mean, you can imagine that I was working like 16-hour days. So
Yep.
my marriage didn't last. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
there's things that happen
Yep.
when you are primarily focused on one thing. But like now I built a life that set out to build faster than what I thought I could do it in. So like
Sure.
that's awesome.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Agreed.
Yeah.
Now, Jennifer, for any listeners out there, maybe they're empathizing with what, I went through, you went through, all our other guests. Maybe they're listening to this recording while they're sitting on a web conference and, half asleep, half awake. But
Right.
for whatever reason, uh, they feel stuck at their job. Oh gosh, I can't leave. I'd lose my health insurance, or I've worked too hard at this, or I'm not entrepreneurial, or whatever the reason is. What would you say to them, or what words of advice would you give to them?
I think that people don't give themselves enough credit on what they can do. And
Mm,
I think that we overestimate what we can get done this week, but underestimate what we can do in like 5 or 10 years.
yeah.
So and I time after time, especially us Midwesterners, we're always like, "Oh, it's enough. Like I have enough." No, go get your unfair share. You can
Yeah.
always donate it. You can give it to somebody else. You can do whatever you want with it. But
Yeah.
if you believe in yourself and you have the ability to make massive wealth,
Hmm.
however you are as a person, your values will shine through the more money you have. So
Hmm.
get that money. That's what I
Yep.
say.
Yeah, money is abundant, time is not. I mean, the Fed is,
Yes.
well, at the time of this recording, Fed just increased rates, what was it, a
It was a
quarter,
quarter,
yeah,
not too
quarter
bad.
yesterday.
Been
And
too low for too long.
well, that's
It's a different topic.
long-winded podcast number three we could do on that topic.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, but
exactly.
money is abundant. The Fed is printing out money left and right. To my knowledge, not even Elon Musk has created, hey, I've just figured out a way to get 48 hours in a 24-hour
Yeah,
day.
nobody's yeah. Well, and I think people try to balance, right? But to me, balance is an illusion. Like
Hmm.
you can't balance. Like if you're going after something, there is no balance. Like
Right.
you are going after it, everything around that suffers. So you
Hmm.
have to decide what's important to you. And like, yes, I know, but you also have to set boundaries. So there is this
Yep.
kind of like juxtaposition about that, but it will not be balanced. It will
Hmm.
not be. But if you
Exactly.
want to show your kids, your family, yourself how to set a goal, how to strive for it, how to get it, why not?
Yep.
Do it.
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. With that said, Jennifer, as we wrap this up, and again, I want to, thank you for taking the time to come on my show, and again, thank you for the opportunity to be on your show. Uh, Geez, was that a year ago now? I can't even remember at this point.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but here we are, in about quarter of the way, third of the way into 2023. For lack of a better marketing term, I've called this the unscrewed moment. Is there any new projects you're working on, anything you're excited about or want to accomplish before 2023 is over?
Yeah. Um, yeah, a couple of things. Well, there was a couple of things that I want to do. So now that my properties are paid off, I have a vision to do two things. One is to do provide owner financing to
Okay.
people, yeah, to people that are can't get like a regular bank loan,
Yep.
especially because bank loans are like so hard to get now, right? And they're going to get
Yep.
harder. The second thing I want to do is have properties that are for um, foster kids that are aging out of the system to give them
Oh
a
wow.
safe place to live, not
Okay.
like kind of I mean, I don't think it'll necessarily, I guess it would end up being a nonprofit. Probably. I need to get a little bit more information about that. But I know
Sure.
housing, right? I don't know the nonprofit world, but I know housing.
Yeah.
But something safe.
Hmm.
And then the third thing is the company that we're with, we are able to achieve revenue share from
Oh,
the
okay.
real estate. And everybody that's licensed in real estate has to be with a company. Like you
Right.
have to be, or you have to be your own broker. Um, and so for us, we are international now. So
Oh
we have
wow.
agents
Congrats.
in Portugal, yeah, in Panama, Colombia, Mexico.
Wow.
So it's pretty exciting. And so I want to be able to help those agents start their career, build their wealth. It's real similar to what you do for
Sure.
people.
No,
Hmm.
yeah, like that. I might actually have to reach out to you because, well, I've been to Belize, I've been to Mexico, I've been Dominican. Portugal is on my short list of next
I
ones to
love
visit,
Portugal.
and might look at real estate there that isn't $10 million for beachfront property like in LA or Miami.
Yeah, right. Well, they have the golden visa now too. A lot of countries do, where you can get citizenship if you own property.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. Well, I think we just added on number four podcast we could stem from this discussion.
Exactly.
So, well, that
International real estate is interesting, that's for sure.
yeah.
It's different.
Exactly. So, well, that Jennifer, thanks for sharing your story on how you said screw the W-2, and wish you all the best as for the rest of 2023.
Thanks, John.